Detective Rayan Malik hadn't slept properly in weeks. The same dream haunted him every night, a woman's scream echoing through a cold, blood-soaked alley, a silver locket clutched in her hand, and a shadowy figure whispering his name. He always woke up drenched in sweat, his heart pounding like a war drum. But this morning, something changed. When he arrived at the new crime scene downtown, his breath hitched. It was identical to the alley in his nightmare, right down to the broken neon sign blinking overhead. The victim, a young brunette, lay lifeless, her hand grasping a silver locket. Rayan's pulse thundered as he kneeled beside her. He gently opened the locket. Inside was a tiny picture of him. What the hell? He muttered. His partner, Detective Alina Remen, shot him a sharp look. You know her? No, he lied, standing quickly. But the lie settled uneasily in his gut. The victim had no ID. The coroner estimated she died around 2 a.m. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. No witnesses, no surveillance footage. Rand couldn't shake the feeling. This wasn't just a coincidence. At night, he poured whiskey into a glass and sat by his window, waiting for sleep. The dream returned clearer this time. The killer's face was still hidden, but the voice whispered louder. You were supposed to save her, Rayan. Rayan barely got any sleep after the murder scene that mirrored his nightmare. He spent the night replaying every detail, the blood-stained alley, the silver locket, and the impossible photograph inside. A picture of him in a dead woman's necklace. It wasn't just creepy. It was personal. The next morning, the city buzzed with fog and the sky hung low like it had secrets to keep. Rayan returned to the alley alone. Crime scene tape fluttered in the breeze, but the real chill was inside him. He scanned the bricks again. Still broken glass. Still that flickering neon sign. He walked the steps the killer must have taken past the dumpster, behind the cracked vending machine, toward the drainage tunnel. Then a soft voice floated from behind him. You came back. I knew you would. Rayan turned sharply. A woman stood there. Dark red trench coat, cinched at the waist. Black leather gloves. Full lips, deep eyes. A scent of something warm and dangerous, jasmine with a burn. She was stunning. But wrong. There was something off about the way she smiled. Do I know you? Rayan asked cautiously, one hand resting near his holster. Yeah. But we've met, she said, stepping closer. Her gaze was too confident, too knowing. And who are you? He asked, resisting the pull in her voice. Call me Zoya, she said, with a soft tilt of her head, like she was testing him. You've seen me before, in your dreams. Rayan's chest tightened. I don't play games, he said sharply. Zoya didn't flinch. She reached into her coat and handed him a small black card. No phone number, no name, just a crimson crescent. Moon etched into the surface. Then, without another word, she turned and disappeared around the alley corner. Rayan stood frozen, back at the station. He laid the card on his desk and stared at it. That crescent. It tugged something loose in the back of his mind. Alina walked in, holding a file. Autopsy's in. Victim's name is Raymond Azar. No priors, not local. The locket's a mystery. You sure you've never seen it before? He looked at her, struggling. No, he said again. But the lie felt heavier this time. She narrowed her eyes. You all right? Yeah, he said, just tired. That night, the dream came again, but it was different. Zoya was in it this time. Standing in the alley, red coat flowing like liquid flame. She leaned in, her voice brushing against his skin like silk. I warned you, she whispered. You let her die. Then her hands slid over his chest. Slow, teasing. Her breath was warm on his lips, and just when he leaned into it, blood on her fingers, running down his chest. And her voice cold now. Your next, Rayan. He jerked awake, soaked in sweat. The clock read 2:49 a.m., and his phone buzzed. New case. Another body? Same alley? He raced to the scene. The body was positioned the same. Another silver locket in her hand. But this time, Rayan didn't touch it. Alina got there seconds later and knelt down beside the corpse. Same method, same alley. Same time. Open the locket, Rayan said, his voice low. She frowned, but did it. Then gasped. Inside the locket was a tiny photo of her. Alina looked up at him, face pale. This isn't possible. Rayan's throat felt dry. There's something I haven't told you. Her eyes darkened. Yeah, no kidding. Back at headquarters, they sat alone in the interview room. He showed her his sketchbook dream fragments he'd drawn over the last month. Blood patterns, alley shapes, symbols he didn't even remember drawing. At the back of the book was a rough sketch of the crescent moon. Alina stared at him, then at the sketch. This isn't random. Someone's either inside your head, or I'm inside theirs, he whispered. Then she showed him something that made his stomach twist. An envelope. Had arrived on her desk earlier that day. Inside, a single message. Typed, "Don't trust Rayan." She stared at him, unblinking. So, tell me, Rayan, what the hell is going on? But he had no answer. Just the memory of Zoya's touch in the dream, and the fear that this was only the beginning. Rayan couldn't stop shaking. The second locket, the second murder. 2 women dead, both carrying pictures of him and Alina. And that mysterious woman, Zoya, knew things she shouldn't, touched places in his mind that no one had ever reached. Alina's glare from across the table was sharp enough to slice skin. You said you didn't know the victim, but she had your picture in her necklace. I didn't know her, he insisted, but I keep seeing these places before they happen. She looked at him like she wasn't sure whether to slap him or hug him. You need help. I need answers, he snapped, flipping open the black card Zoya had given him. The crimson crescent burned into it seemed to pulse now, alive with heat, and I know where to start. He followed the symbol. It led him to an old speakeasy, disguised as a used bookstore downtown. A hidden staircase behind a bookshelf dropped him into another world. Velvet drapes, dark lighting, bodies pressed close together under dim chandeliers. Music like smoke drifted through the air. The place was called the Crimson Vault, and there she was, Zoya, on stage, wearing a black corset and high boots. Her hips moved like poetry soaked in sin. Her hair tumbled down her shoulders, and her eyes never left him. As if she'd known he'd come. He tried to look away. Failed. When her performance ended, she slipped behind the curtains. Rayan pushed through the crowd, ignoring the stares. He found her in the hallway, dimly lit with red bulbs. She didn't act surprised. I was wondering when you'd find me, Zoya said, leaning against the wall. Did the second dream come true yet? How do you know what's in my head? I've been in your head, she whispered, stepping closer. You're not losing your mind, Rayan. You're waking up. To what? Zoya placed a hand on his chest. Her fingers warmed through his shirt. You don't remember the institute, do you? His blood ran cold. What institute? She smiled slowly. Of course you don't. You were one of the test subjects. So was I. They called it Project Crescent. Memory imprint experiments. Dream implants. Neural sharing. It was classified. Buried. You were part of it, Rayan. But you weren't supposed to survive the wipe. Your dreams. They're not dreams. They're leftovers. Warnings. His throat felt dry. The murders? They're messages. She kissed him. It was sudden and wild. Her lips crushed his, full of heat and fury. It should have felt wrong, but it didn't. It felt real. It felt like something buried inside him had cracked open. Then she pulled away, her hand now at his waist, caressing something. A blade. She slid the knife from her side and held it to his neck, just barely grazing skin. But here's the catch, she whispered, breath hot on his ear. You were trained to stop me. His muscles tensed, ready to strike. But your body remembers me, she added, voice dropping. You used to love me, Rayan. He blinked. That's a lie. Is it? She smirked, then dropped a knife, letting it clatter to the floor. Between them, before he could say anything, she stepped back, eyes suddenly dark again. You'll dream of me again tonight. And when you do look closer this time, she turned and vanished down a hallway lined with red curtains. Rian stood frozen, heart pounding, lips tingling with the taste of her dot back at the precinct. Alina was pacing. She dug into his identity fake IDs, abandoned apartments, untraceable fingerprints. Nothing stuck. But then she found a single match, a psychiatric case file, sealed under government order. Rand stared at the name, Zoya Malik. His last name. Any relation? Alina asked carefully. I have no sister, Rand said. But his voice shook. Then Alina slid over another file. Found this buried in the classified archives. Project Crescent. The photos inside showed young subjects hooked to machines dream-sharing tests, neurological syncs, and one image, a boy and a girl, lying side by side in a white room. They were holding hands. The boy looked just like him, and the girl, unmistakably, Zoya ran, slammed the file shut. I need air. That night, the dream returned. Zoya stood by a burning bed, holding a silver locket. They erased your past, she whispered, but your heart remembered me. She opened the locket and showed him something new, a photo of them kissing. You can stop the next one, she said, but only if you remember who you were. Rayan woke up, gasping. And beside him, on his nightstand, lay a fresh silver locket, still warm, inside. Was a new photo. Alina. And a timer glued to the back, ticking. Rayan stared at the ticking device on the back of the silver locket. It wasn't a bomb, not exactly. It was some kind of micro trigger, maybe connected to a signal or an event. But the message was clear. Alina was next, and he only had 5 hours. He bolted out of his apartment, heart thundering. The city was dark, the moon hanging low and full above the skyline. The streets blurred as he sped through them, following a single instinct. Not logic, not evidence, just something primal that pulled him toward the truth. He remembered Zoya's words in the dream, only if you remember who you were. The crescent moon symbol led him again, this time to the edge of the old industrial district. To a long-abandoned cathedral with broken stained glass windows and ivy-covered stone. The doors creaked open with a groan. Inside, candles flickered in uneven rows along the cracked tile floor. The air smelled of wax, dust, and something strangely sweet. At the center of the cathedral was an altar no longer for prayers but for obsession. Pinned to the walls were dozens of photos. Crime scene shots, locket victims, surveillance prints, and his nightmares. Drawings he had made in private, laid out here like an art exhibit, and in the center of it all, a shrine. A shrine with his face at the center. He stepped closer. The candles burned brighter. He didn't notice the figure watching him from the upper balcony. Then she descended. EOY. Wearing black again. Her coat opened just enough to tease, but her expression unreadable. Not seductive. Not warm, almost mournful. You finally came, she said softly. Rayan didn't draw his weapon. Tell me the truth. Everything. She walked toward the shrine and gently traced his photo with her fingers. You and I were bonded in the facility. The project didn't just test memories. It fused minds. We weren't just subjects. We were imprinted onto each other. Your fears became mine. My desires became yours. His voice cracked. You're saying these murders? They're not yours. Zoya turned to face him, eyes shining. No, they're ours. He stepped back. What? You dreamt them, Rayan. Every detail. But your mind was trained to forget. Your body carried out the kills in sleep, like a puppet. You were there? Weapon. A programmed executioner. He couldn't breathe. No, I would have known. You were trained not to. To forget the next day. But something broke. Something inside you started to remember. That's why the locket had your photo. That's why the dream started bleeding through. He fell to his knees. No, this can't be. Zoya knelt in front of him, took his hands. I can stop it now. I can sever the link. If we finish what they started, one final merge, you and me, one mind, then we'll be free. And Alina? He was barely able to say her name. Zoya's eyes flickered. She's in the way. If she dies, the loop ends. The guilt resets. We escape together. He stared at her. For a terrifying second, some part of him wanted that. To fall into Zoya? To give up to pain and confusion? To surrender? But another voice screamed louder. Alina. He stood, breaking her grip. I'm not who I was. I'm not the boy they trained, and I won't let you hurt her. Zoya's smile cracked. Then you've chosen your side. She whistled. Sharply, behind the altar, a trapdoor opened, and Alina was shoved into the room, wrists bound, blood trickling from her lip. Rayan drew his gun and aimed at the figure behind her. It was one of the men from the project files, one of the doctors. Zoya raised her hands. You can stop all of this. Just one shot, kill him, and we're done. But the man held Alina tighter, a knife now pressed to her throat. Zoya whispered, Shoot him, Rayan. Alina's eyes locked onto his. No fear. Just trust. He shifted his aim and shot Zoya. The bullet hit her shoulder. She gasped, stumbled back, and screamed, You fool. You'll never remember who you really are now. Rayan fired again, this time at the man holding Alina. He dropped, knife clattering as Alina fell to the floor. She scrambled over, shivering. You okay? He asked, pulling her close. She nodded. You, Kane. I always will. Zoya, bleeding, but alive, stared up at him with something broken in her gaze. You chose her over us. There is no us, he said coldly. Then Zoya smiled. Even through the blood. You still don't get it. You didn't kill me in the dream. What? You killed her. And before he could react, everything went black. Darkness swallowed him. When Rayan came to, the cathedral was silent. The candles had melted low, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Alina was gone. So was Zoya. So was the man with the blade. His gun lay beside him, empty. He staggered to his feet, vision blurry. Blood trailed along the tile floor 2 directions. One set of prints dragged. The other walked and beside him, on the altar, was a single item, a locket. He picked it up with trembling fingers and opened it. This time, it wasn't a photo of him. It was Alina, smiling, holding a child, and beside her him, an older version, with gray in his beard, but he had no memory of this life. None of it. That's when he realized. He was still dreaming. Still inside the loop. He ran outside, into the moonlight. The cold air slapped his face, but it didn't wake him, because none of this was real. The streets were empty, too quiet, too staged. He ran through the city. He thought he knew every alley, every turn, perfectly matched his nightmares. But no one was there, only a whisper in the wind. You killed her before, and you'll kill her again. He turned around. Zoya stood under a street lamp, her injured arm wrapped, her black coat fluttering. She didn't look angry. She looked tired. This is the last dream, she said softly. You said I killed Alina. Why would I do that? Because they made you, she said. Just like they made me kill you again and again. Rayan stepped back. So this is all a simulation? No, it's a scar, she said. A memory your mind has been looping through for years. You're not solving a crime. You're reliving it. The world tilted. Rayan dropped to his knees as the pieces fell into place. He had loved. A Zoy, a dot, they had escaped Project Crescent together, but he fell for Alina while undercover. The project sent Zoya to erase her, and when he tried to stop it, Zoya turned on him. He'd been killed again and again. Until now, you're not a detective anymore, Zoya said. You're not even real, not here. You're just an echo, a backup, one that finally glitched into consciousness. Rayan looked at his hands, his body, the pain. It felt real. So what now? He whispered, I just let you kill Alina again? No, she said, stepping forward. This time you choose. Zoya opened her palm. In a small device, the project will wipe her. You'll forget her. You'll come with me. And we can be together. Or she dropped a second device. A trigger. You can kill me. End the loop. But once you do, your mind collapses. No more dreams. No more remembering. You'll disappear with me. The wind howled through the empty street. Rayan stared at the two options. Zoya's eyes softened. This was never about murder. It was about love. About betrayal. We reuse. He picked up the trigger. Alina's face flashed in his mind. Not the fake one in the locket. The real one. Her voice. Her stubbornness. Her loyalty. Her hand on. Is after every nightmare. He looked at Zoya one last time. I loved you once, but I'm not that man anymore. Zoya's eyes shimmered with tears, then ended. He pressed the trigger. The world exploded in white. For a long moment there was nothing. Got no sound. No pain, no memory. Then a breath, warm air, a steady beep. A ceiling light. Rayan blinked awake in a hospital bed. Alina was there, holding his hand, eyes red from crying. Smiling through it. You're back, she whispered, finally. His voice was weak. What happened? You collapsed 2 weeks ago. Coma. They found weird brain activity neural looping. They said someone messed with your memory cortex. He smiled faintly. Project Crescent. Her eyes widened. You remembered? Enough. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. You fought it, Rayan. Whatever it was, you fought your way back. He nodded slowly. And for the first time, there were no more dreams. In Piligui a month later, Rayan visited a gravesite outside the city. No name. Just a black headstone with a crescent moon etched into the top. He placed a silver locket on the grave. Inside, 2 photos. One of Zoya. One of Alina. Side by side. We were all part of the same dream. He said quietly, but I finally woke. He turned and walked into the daylight. Free. The crime scene matched my nightmare. The end.